Sam, how are you getting on?
No, I'm okay, thank you. I'm okay. Different, but yeah, I think it use these times to do things which you wouldn't normally have time to do. So, from one respect, it's been really, really good because as a manager, when you're involved in football, you just don't get time. Literally all your time's taken up with games and training and such. But this has been a period where we can really reflect, but also plan and look forward as well.
How have you coped then? Because as a manager, you've always got a look ahead to what's coming in weeks to come. So that must be quite difficult in being able to try and switch off from that because you've been in that groove for so long.
Yeah, it's been nice. It's just like another aspect of the job. It's the bit which I really enjoy it, and like I said, it's actually been able to reflect and see what's worked well this season. Where do we think we need to improve? And there's some bits which have been very, very good, and there's obviously been other bits we want to improve and take forward as a team. And we were tinkering with it for 3 or 4 weeks or so before we got obviously forced to stop. So now it's a question of looking at that and really detailing what we want if we're going to change or have the ability to play another system. I think we've played the three at the back for 12 months now or so and been very, very good with it, whether that be like a 3-4-3, a 5-4-1, a 5-3-2. We've had some very, very good results, FA Cup, but also in the league. We've beaten the league leaders, Coventry at home, we've beaten Sunderland at home, we've beaten Peterborough. We've had a lot of success doing it, but I also want us to learn another system where because I want to be able to take the club to the next level. I think another system allows us to do so, and we can pick and choose then and change during game if necessary, or start with a different system. And like I said, we started doing that for three or 4 weeks or so before the lockdown. So now it's just being able to put some real emphasis on that system and all the detail we did on the previous one, build presentations and information for players to really learn it.
So it's having flexibility even within a game to be able to change to a different system to help you go and get those points.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we're all honest enough to see that whether the way we played this year has worked in some games and it hasn't worked in others, and we obviously have to look at that and see where we can improve. And I think it takes 12 months to really nail a system, really understand it as players. And I think we've got there now with three at the back, so we've always got that in our back pocket, always got it ready to use. But also now looking, can we get the information? And this is why I use this time really to gather all the information, to build presentations. So each individual player, whether it be a right back, a centre midfielder, a centre forward, a left winger, whatever it is, their expectations of that position, what I expect them to, where to be in possession, out of possession, I'm looking at that so we can make it as clear as we can for them. And that takes time and hours and hours and hours of work, which is why, I've been able to fill my time very, very easily doing that part of it. And then also planning long term as well with the club. Football will get back to normal eventually, but when that is, I don't know. But also looking at structuring things and in your recruitment, narrowing that down, watching a lot of players who normally you might not have enough time to do so.
What system would you have played against Peterborough tomorrow?
Sometimes I think we would have been away from home. We'd beat them at home with the back five, so a little bit seeing how they would play. And they've gone into a bit of a diamond recently. I think we probably would have looked at what their main sort of strengths are. But also know now how we're playing as well. Last time out, we played Oxford, who were one of the best teams in the league, really, and deservedly 2-0 up, and we would have gone on and won the game if we hadn't had a man wrongly sent off. So I want to get to that point where not only are we always have to respect the opposition, but also for them worrying about us as well, because I think we've changed in the last couple of weeks, is what I was saying, and actually looking far more threatening, far more shots on goal and more goals. And ultimately, we need to score goals to win games.
Just looking at the situation at the moment, we've had Rick Parry come out from the EFL talking about not playing behind closed doors when football gets back to being on again. And there's an interesting couple of points you made in Lewis Cox's article in the Shropshire Star regarding, you're not really sold on the idea, but it looks like it's becoming more and more likely that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think ultimately we all play football and we all want to be involved because it's a spectacle. It's ultimately an entertainment, and the players want to play in front of supporters, and supporters want to be there backing their team. And you're ripping out the emotion from games. I think if you're playing behind closed doors, I fully understand it about obviously you can't have mass gatherings and such. I think ultimately because no one knows how long the lockdown's going to go on for, you don't know how to prepare for the future. Is it one which, and all clubs need revenue, but you can't keep paying wages if you don't have any revenue coming in. So playing behind closed doors doesn't really generate any revenue because you've got no one coming to the game. There's no hospitality, there's no ticket sales. Yes, there is iFollow, but I don't know how much you're going to generate from that as opposed to actually playing the game. So if it is one where the new season could start on time as per we would normally expect it to, but could be with supporters, then maybe you should just do that and finish the season now as where you finish now is where you are, a bit like they have done in Scotland. It can obviously be seen as it's not completely fair and harsh, but we're living in very surreal times. Or is it one where it's imperative that we finish the season no matter what, but then that the revenue streams for clubs, if you end up playing in say June, July, August time to finish the season, then we've still not got crowds watching games, so there's no revenue coming in. It prolongs the ability for the club to generate some money.
You've had a few players, Sam, who have had symptoms of COVID-19. Can you give us an idea of the scale of the problem you've had in your squad? Because it's been quite a few, isn't it? And perhaps this week has been a bit better for you regarding maybe not as many being in self-isolation, but can you give us a more of a picture of what's happened and how many have been affected?
Yeah, so without saying the exact numbers, but right from when we first stopped, really, the following week, we probably had the first couple of players with symptoms, and then that's progressed into being 2s and 3s and 4s and 5s, splitting over. So one player will have a symptom, obviously, for a week or two, and then some other players, and some have obviously been absolutely fine throughout. This week, it has died down, and that's probably due to a lockdown. We're 3 weeks into a lockdown now, so what it does show is that the players have respected what's been asked of them and have kept themselves to themselves and stayed indoors because no one's reporting any symptoms. They've not been anywhere to catch it. So I'm obviously pleased with their behaviour and rightly so as well for the way they've conducted themselves. But it's a tough one because I think there is that much going around now, and symptoms don't confirm that you've had it, but also we have there isn't. I think the big problem is there doesn't seem to be an actual test which is foolproof. I think all the countries which are testing a lot, how accurate is their testing? I'm not sure. So until you actually test everyone or who has symptoms, have they got it, or a test like in retrospect, have you had it? Then I think we'll have a clearer picture there on just how many have had it. But I wouldn't surprise me if say half of our squad have certainly experienced it. Definitely.
How have you been?
I've been okay. There's been family members who have been confirmed as having it. Obviously, we're in lockdown, so I've not been in contact with them, but some very, very close family members who, fortunately, everyone's okay. But it does just show you, it does get everywhere, and anyone is liable to get it.
Do you think it's realistic? I mean, there have been several reports about perhaps getting back to training in mid-May and playing in June. Do you think as a manager you've got a sense of what's happening in your squad? Do you think that's really plausible?
I think it's plausible from a footballing perspective. Now, is it plausible from the wider world? I'm not sure. I don't know how this pandemic is going to play out. There's far cleverer people than me who understand it, and I'm just looking in and thinking, well, if it started off with one person, say, bringing it into this country originally, and it all filtering out, you look down for 3 weeks. It only takes one person still to have it when we all come back into normality and it all flares up again. Is it something which, as bad as it sounds, everyone kind of needs to get and have it and get through it? I don't know. And if that is the case, then it's more plausible. So I don't think you're never going to stop it completely. So as soon as you start opening up the country again, I think you're going to start seeing it it's spreading more, or finding out that actually a lot more people have had it, maybe didn't have symptoms or very minor symptoms than what people currently think.
Do you know how you'd go about it as well? So if you had a game, would it be that you would have to test players before every game? Have you been given guidelines on potentially what would happen?
No, nothing at all. And that's the other worrying thing. There's that many games to fit in, and it's going to be behind closed doors. You probably don't need to go Saturday at 3 o'clock, Tuesday at 7:45, but you're going to go Saturday, maybe Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday. But we could play a game on the Saturday, be preparing for the game on the Wednesday, and maybe play the game on the Wednesday, then find out that actually that team we played on the Saturday before, 1 or 2 players have now gone down with COVID-19. That means there's a very good chance had it. That means we passed it on to the team we had just played. Now, do we go and play next Saturday? Probably not, because we don't know. And then I think then it all stops again. So I think you have to be.
Well, you might have to self-isolate as well. So if you've been in contact maybe with one of the players in the opponent's team who's had it, then there's all sorts of ramifications, isn't there?
Yeah, and I don't see. To be honest, I don't see a way around it other than at some point everyone, I think, is going to have to get exposed to it and have it. And I don't know. There's clever people that may have to understand how you deal with a pandemic, but I just don't see how you can stop it. I don't see how you can stop passing it on. Yeah, without an antibody anyway.
Yeah. Injury-wise, how are people doing? I suppose Sean Worley comes to mind, but can you give us an update?
Yeah, so Sean Worley, for all intents and purposes, is fully fit now. The same with Aaron Pierre. He was carrying a knot going into this break, so he's back now as much as we can be without physios actually being able to assess them and see them. And players have been doing their running, or had been, doing their running. They haven't been doing it just recently. But so everyone's all okay. The only real injury that we have now is Ollie Norburn. That's a longer term one, which you wouldn't be expecting back yet anyway.
Yeah, what is the time scale on Ollie? Are we looking at potentially what would have been the start of next season, August time?
Yeah, we'd obviously written that bit off really, saying, well, this season was going to be finished, and then you have your summer and you can gradually ease back into pre-season then, because traditionally the first couple of weeks of pre-season is just a bit straight line run, a bit similar to Dave Edwards and Scotty Goldborn last year, and Ollie was due to follow the same sort of path really. You could say he's doing really, really well, but at the same time, he's coming up to a point where he needs to see the surgeon again. And is that possible? Without speaking to the surgeon, I don't know. The surgeon may not be working now. He may be have drafted into another area of healthcare, which you obviously fully understand. And then you're a little bit of a standing point of how much can you push him, and also you can't have that real hands-on with players that you need coming back from injury. You can do all your work you want, your squats, all your work you can do by yourself, but there are a time when you need a physio's hands on you, giving you treatment, giving you specific exercises, and that is obviously closing down the 2 meter gap and making physical contact.
What about the out of contract players, Sam? You've got a couple of those, and I guess normally this time of year you would be heavily in talks with those players. So is that still continuing? And can you give us an update on perhaps the likes of Josh Laron, Omar Beckles, how close they could be to making a decision, or you make a decision on them? Yeah,
it's a real tricky period, and we are obviously always thinking and discussing these players and situations in-house, but also with certain players and agents keep going on and bits and pieces. But ultimately, we're in an area where it's hard to really offer, not so much offer, but it's hard to know exactly where we're going to be. We don't know where we're going to be in a month or 2 months' time, what the revenue is going to be like at the club. So you're doing it half blind, half with your hand tied behind your back, and also you've got to think of the revenue streams as well. So yes, we are talking about it and discussing anything, but nothing imminent has happened as yet. We really just need to see a light at an end of the tunnel and everyone know what we're working towards, and then it can clear these situations up and give a bit of clarity.
When are they contracted to?
So all players' contracts run until the 30th of June. That's every player. You know, you can't finish a contract early in the professional game. If you go into non-league, they can finish at different areas in May or whenever they like. But every player is contracted until the 30th of June, and then what has come out, and people see it, after the 30th of June, they get a month's severance pay unless they have another club or something like that. So that's why people are suggesting they could play during their month's severance pay, which is actually after the end of their contract, which would take some negotiating between the players and obviously the football authorities.
I guess it's the same answer then I'll ask you anyway, about new players. Can you first of all give us an idea of how many new players you've been thinking that you'd like to target during what would be a normal summer, a normal pre-season ahead of next season?
Without putting actual figures on it, but you kind of look at who would be out of contract, the loans that will be going back. So you're probably looking to recruit 6 to 7 players, I would imagine. And what this time has done is it gives me time to really try and narrow down those target lists, try and really define that watch as many players as I can, and really try and do as much homework in the players as we can. We're in a situation we can't actually do anything because the transfer window isn't open. But it does mean you could have conversations to an extent to see what players' situations are. Would they be interested? Would they not? And get a feel for it so that you're not just trying to do everything at 100 miles an hour as and when it does open at the end of this season, whenever that may be.
And Harry Burgoyne, is that something you want to get sorted as quickly as possible? Do you see him potentially being your main goalkeeper going into next season?
I've been really not surprised. I've been really impressed with Harry. Nothing that I wouldn't expect from him from joining the club. He was only a very young lad when I was at Wolves, but I've done plenty of research into his character and attitude in the years that I'd left. Very, very driven, very committed, very professional, and everything what I wanted to see from him I've seen since he's come in. What I would like to do is try and see him play some matches, and that's just because it's very different training to games. But he's a young goalkeeper who I think has got really good potential. He had a blistering start to his career at Wolves. It's stalled over the last couple of years. Bad luck with injuries and a few things not quite going his way. I think he's got really good potential and someone which I was really pleased to bring to the club, and hopefully that will continue and he'll be here for a little while.
I guess it's unlikely you're going to get Max OLeary again next season. The way it normally goes, I suppose, is he goes out, gets experience, plays more games. He's done really well with Shrewsbury. If he was to go anywhere else, maybe he would go to a lower part of the Championship. But it looks like he may well get a chance at Bristol City itself.
Yeah, Max has done really well. And again, a young goalkeeper, I think, has got a real potential. Whether he dislodges David Bentley at Bristol City is obviously for Bristol City to work out. But the other thing for Bristol City, he's a homegrown player for them as well. So we all need homegrown players in our matchday squad, and Max certainly fits that bill. I think he's got to the point now where I think he needs to be playing every week. I think if he went back and sat on the bench every week next year, it wouldn't do his development any good. But I've been delighted with Max this year. I think he's got great potential, has improved as the season's gone on as well. But he's also got an awful lot more improvement within him, which is great for him and his career potential.
And finally, Sam, really, from a club point of view, it's been a sad time too. Alf Wood and Ricky Moore have sadly passed away, and normally you would wear a black armband and pay your respects to very highly respected former players, but you can't do that at the moment. But I take it you'll have plans to do that when you do play again.
Yeah, I think that's when we do get back together again. I think that'll be a really good time to honour these former players and for what they've given the club, and they'll be respected in the right way then. And another reason why it'd be nice to do that in front of supporters as opposed to just as players in an empty stadium. So as supporters and players, we pay our respects together, and that's part of what the club is. So an ideal time would be with, like I said, with supporters back in the ground and everyone enjoying football again and enjoy coming down to watch the team play and enjoy the Saturday afternoons.
And just one last question: Do you have an idea of when you're going to be training again? Have you got a date that you're working towards, which could be moved, but you're thinking is a potential date?
Yeah, we're on our third date at the minute. The EFL have given us a mandate to not to train before May the 16th. So that's what we're aiming for at the moment. And all being well, that'll be a chance for us to get everyone back into training, which is still now probably 4 weeks away now. I think 4 weeks away on Saturday. And then that will lead us, I think, a 3-week build up to potentially restarting the season again. So that's what we're currently aiming for. It's still very loose because it's been pushed back twice and potentially can get pushed back again with what happens in the wider world.
Sam, many thanks for your time. Stay safe. Send our best wishes to your players and staff as well, because I mean, everybody's feeling it, aren't they? And it's a very difficult time for everyone. But the sooner we see you and the players back around the stadium on the pitch, the better.
No, thank you very much. And the sooner we get you back down the training ground, we can do this face to face, the better as well.